Coming up this week on the Course of Life podcast at Bay Hill, we had a new winner emerging on the PGA Tour from a loaded leaderboard. And the LIV Tour golfers are getting quite petty in the comments and replies, and I have a brief rant. Plus, we're tuned into the local news and TOUR. And this week's guest, it's officially our fitness episode. I had two great conversations at the PGA show, so we're featuring not one, but two great guests in Gilbert and Coach Kevin Duffy, talking all things golf, fitness to get your life, your body, your health back on track. And we get into our own health and our own diets as well when we always end with food. All of it brought to you by our friends, as always, Desert Fox Golf. They're the makers of the phone caddy. They get it done every day out in Phoenix, Arizona, out in the desert, creating great golf cart accessories that help make your golf, your round, your day on the course just a little bit more enjoyable. Be sure to check out desertfoxgolf.com, desertfoxproducts.com. The promo code is Course of Life to save 10% off anything they have to offer, from the phone caddy, the Swing 8 tumblers, to the cigar holders. They're coming up with everything you need, like I said, to make life in your golf cart a little bit easier. So check out everything they have to offer. And our promo code, again, it's Course of Life, promo code Course of Life at desertfoxgolf.com.
Hello, interwebs, and welcome to Course of Life. We are proud to be presented by our friends at Desert Fox Golf and Voris Golf. I'm Michael, he's Alex. And Alex, the Puerto Rico Open at the Grand Reserve Golf Club. I know this is the marquee event that we want to talk about today. $684,000 and 300 FedEx Cup points. The new PGA Tour victor, the Colombian Nico Echeverria.
Yeah, so you're MWR INC on social media, as everyone knows, but I think you're also MWR opposite field. Yes. You are obsessed with the opposite field events. I don't know why, but you love gravitating towards them. You're just for the little guy. That's what it comes down to in this podcast. You care about the rest of the PGA Tour, the guys that are grinding it out day in and week out, and week in and week out, that we profile here regularly on the show. So I appreciate that.
I mean, look, journeyman, Detroit Rocket Mortgage winner and former guest of this podcast, Nate Lashley, did finish in a tie for third in this event. And so he's keeping his card. The journeyman continues.
That matters. I mean, it really does. And people poke fun at these opposite field events, but they do present opportunities to players who maybe haven't gotten that high finish they've wanted in a while. So, yeah, this was a double. Thank you for reminding everyone. There was not one, but two PGA Tour events going on in coinciding moments in the last week. So it was a great weekend indeed.
But, of course, all eyes were down at Arnold Palmer's Bay Hill Country Club in Orlando for the Arnold Palmer Invitational presented by MasterCard. And out of everyone in this loaded field, of course, the designated event, $3.6 million on the line for first place. We had the likes of Rory McIlroy, Patrick Cantlay, Jordan Spieth, Scotty Scheffler had the lead for a while as well. And it went to Kurt Kitayama.
It did, yes. Kurt Kitayama, a guy who may not be super known on a worldwide stage in golf, but he's been on tour for a couple of years, toiled through the European Tour for a few years as well. Actually, big Vegas background, a friend of the show, good friends with Taylor Montgomery as well, too. So they have a lot of Vegas roots and connections out there. They've been playing golf together for a long time, and it's good to see him finally break through on a really huge stage. Like you mentioned, how loaded that leaderboard was. Yeah. We had every storyline you could have wanted on golf social media, from Rory contending to Scheffler defending to Spieth possibly winning on Sunday. That always gets everyone going on Twitter. We had all those things, and nonetheless, Kitayama emerged. So a pretty gutsy victory, especially coming down the last couple holes to get it done and win by one.
Yeah, a lot of the big names just kind of fell apart in the end. Maybe the only one that, Scotty Scheffler, bogey on 18. Jordan Spieth put up a back 937 with 3 bogeys in there as well. Rory McIlroy, again, he had 2 bogeys in there too. He finished at 34, 2 under in the back, but it just wasn't enough. And Kurt Kitayama, he just did his job. Now, he did have that triple bogey to finish up the front 9. but just went nice and calm through the back nine.
That's a good little lesson for all of us at home right now. Think about that. The guy who won a designated event and $3.6 million on the PGA Tour made a triple bogey on his round, just like all of us, Mike, like all of us. Okay. So if he can come back from a triple bogey and gain his composure, regain it, and win a PGA Tour event 9 holes later, then I think maybe you and I can break 100 or 90 or 80 out there. So just a little motivation for all the golfers out there.
I do want to ask about Jon Rahm. He started out with a hot 65, and then he collapsed with 2 straight 76s. Is the Jon Rahm heater over?
I know we're so quick to pull these heaters back, and I think we may have to. Actually, I like that you've got the quick string, and I appreciate that. You're like the manager in the bottom of the 5th saying, "I don't think our starters got any more." I think it's time to pull it. I think you're right. I think we got to move on because here's the fact of the matter, Mike. Fields are deep these days. Okay. Yeah. We got 7 or 10 guys that are firing at a world-class level right now. We've talked about the Rory, Rahm, Scheffler trio. So either one of those other 3 guys can surely take over his heater at any moment right now. So yes, as sad as it is, only a couple weeks outside of the heater, I think we do need to pull heater status from Jon Rahm for the moment. We could bring it back in a few short weeks, though.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see what happens. But I think if he'd only had one 76 in there, it would have been a little different. But with 2 back to back,
he's just not winning enough. Like everyone at home understands. He just really needs to be winning more tournaments. Obviously, only collecting 3 or 4 wins. Recently, that's nothing. He's got to get to Tiger levels before he can truly appreciate the heater.
Yeah, and we'll talk about his chances in the next week.
Sawgrass. Yeah, we will
as well. It's Sawgrass. We'll see what happens. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a couple minutes. But let's switch all the way across to the other side of the world. I think probably almost all the way on the other side of the world. LPGA, of course, they're in Asia. They were in Singapore, and Jin Young Ko. It took her like a year and change. She's back in the winner's circle.
Yeah, and she's one of those, hey, don't forget about me, I'm back type of winners in ladies golf, because obviously we pay a lot of attention to the amazing run that Lydia Ko has had in recent years, and Nelly Korda's run captivated us in 2021-22 as well. But Jin Young Ko has been very consistent over the last several years, and we've mentioned her name on this podcast enough for you out there to know that she is a worldwide force, and getting it done here to set precedent early in the Asia swing before things really get going in the LPGA calendar. Pretty impressive stuff. So again, she's putting her name back on that radar in that top 3, top 5 discussion, which is exactly what you want to do early in the year.
Let's talk about the other big news that dropped this past week, and that was some new announcements for the 2024 season, which is taking these designated events that we're in the middle of right now. We've seen what they've done to the game and the kind of amazing finishes we've seen. And we also saw this week how a player nowhere on anyone's radar was able to win a designated event and change their future.
True.
And we decided to take these events, these 8 events, and make them 70 to 78 player invitationals, no cuts.
It was a disheartening piece of information to hear, Mike, because you and I understand exactly what the 2 opposing tours look like, how they're structuring their formats, and we've seen decisively what makes one great and what makes the other exhibitionist. And now, all of a sudden, with these recent changes, while we're giving even more power to those at top the PGA Tour, we're looking a lot similar to what they were trying to avoid for all these years. So the hypocrisy here, Mike, and you can let your take fly. It just, the hypocrisy seems to be ringing through here with these recent changes. That's the troubling part from this announcement.
Yeah, I mean, look, Phil Mickelson is laughing wherever he is in Saudi Arabia. He is laughing hard right now at the PGA Tour because he has put in motion, albeit probably not the way he envisioned it happening, ways to reward the game's best players. And obviously the game's best players are who a lot of people want to watch. Now, if they had kept a cut into these events, I think I would have been much more okay with this.
Remember the Netflix documentary and how important the cut was?
Exactly. Every single episode, we got to learn about the cut. Look, I wonder if they were trying to make these a little different, and the reason they went no cut is they didn't want it like a WGC event, which, of course, as we know, is another result of a Greg Norman tour. So we could arguably say like Greg Norman has done more for the PGA Tour players than Tiger Woods ever has. I think that's a worthy argument to have at a later date.
Which is crazy, yeah, which is a crazy take right there, but it actually rolls off the tongue pretty well. That's wild, yeah.
But I mean, the way they're inviting players is I will say, if you looked at the criteria to how they're going to invite players to these tournaments, there is some things I like better that at least still keeps it very different from LIV.
Yeah, what are those differentiators for people who haven't looked into that yet?
Top 50 players from the prior FedEx Cup standings through the FedEx Cup playoffs. And the idea of that is that if you get injured for part of the year and you can't play, you can come back and still play in this. So, okay.
Yeah, if you had that great 2023 and you have an injury this fall, you can still get into those crucial winter spring events in 2024 because of how you played the previous year. I love that.
Yep. Top 10 players not otherwise eligible from the current year FedEx Cup standings. So if you're having a great year and you didn't last year, you're in. Top 5 players not otherwise eligible earning the most FedEx Cup points through each collection of standard events. So there's like 3 or 4 standard events and then a designated event sort of thing. So if you're hot, if you win one of those events, pretty much you're in.
That's the I think that's the Taylor Montgomery addendum they added recently. I think that's what that is right there. Yeah.
Yep. Current year tournament winners not otherwise eligible. So again, win and you're in. PGA Tour members among the top 30 in the official World Golf rankings. Again, if you're injured and you're still in the top 30. And then 4 sponsor exemption restrictions for the PGA Tour members, because obviously if Tiger Woods wants to play, he needs to be in.
Yep, he does. And then remember, there's 3 more there. So those are those guys that maybe don't quite fit into those categories, but are playing just well enough to get themselves the notice. And maybe an example of that, and really dumb example, is a guy like Eric Cole, who just came out of nowhere and just finished second, at the Honda Clash or something like that. A guy that's just got good form, is on the tour, is a member, and is playing well at the right time. He gets one of those 4 exemptions. So I appreciate you outlining that, because when everyone saw the no-cut format in limited fields, we obviously shrieked and we saw the comparisons to what LIV looks like now, but realized that there is a true funnel being put in place to how you get in these events. So as long as that funnel is maintained correctly, and it's allowing a good churn, we need a churn. That's the difference between LIV and the PGA Tour. Mm-hmm. There's no churn on LIV. The 48 is the 48 for indefinite amount of time. The 70 or 78 we could see in these limited designated field events in the PGA Tour could be 40 or 50 new guys each and every year. So I think if we're able to keep that integrity, these changes might not be as crazy and as scary as people think.
Right. The other question, though, is, are the opposite field events going to count? Do those winners also... I mean, I'm assuming they get in because they win an event, but the guys who play really well in an opposite tour event, do they get in as well? Is a guy like, Nate Lashley, who had a T3 finish here, if he plays well in a couple of their events before the next designated, does that count for him? I don't know, because I'm only seeing what the PGA Tour put on their website. That is a good question that I'm thinking.
It's either money wise or it's one of those 4 spots you mentioned, those special little sponsor exemption spots. So there is some limited capacity there. And that's where the guys like Ryan French, our friend with Monday Q Info, and a lot of the mini tour grinder follower guys get a little peeved, because they see the pathway getting more and more limited as these changes take place. But just know that through the Korn Ferry Tour and through the actual PGA Tour system put in place, there still is that opportunity. I'm curious to see how it all plays out, Mike. The thing I want to touch on with you is what's happened on golf Twitter and social media, and my brief rant here. I don't know what you've seen, but the LIV guys, they're having a field day, as you'd imagine, with these announcements in the past week.
Yeah, how many fake LIV Twitter accounts have attacked you on Twitter?
Yes, just a few. Only one in the DMs, and just a few publicly.
How many Patrick Reed attack accounts have come after you.
Use Golf Facts, aka Justine Reed. Patrick Reed's wife has not attacked me yet. I just want to set that record straight. Okay, she's clean so far at this point. But basically, the funny part about everything going on is how petty the LIV golfers are getting, and I'm calling one out specifically. I didn't think I'd do much in the terms of calling out world-class golfers with agendas here, but here we are on the podcast doing it. I got to call out Lee Westwood, Mike. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Lee Westwood is a lifelong European Ryder Cup golfer. He's a legend in the game. He didn't ever win a major championship, blah, blah, blah. European Tour winner million times over. He is getting so petty in the Twitter replies and comments right now, just firing back at trolls with like 12 followers at like 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, Lee, listen, a quick rant here. Love you, mean it. You've made millions upon millions of dollars in this game. You got the LIV check cut to you. Just move on with your life. There is no need for you to be getting in here in these Twitter comments and replies and these DMs on Instagram. That is just a complete waste of your time. So I just hate to see that. It's a hate to see that warning from the LIV Tour golfers. I hope they just take their money, be happy with it, and enjoy the 23 schedule because they're certainly wasting their time on Twitter. They're not going to get anywhere with that crowd.
Yeah, I think if you're attacking people at 3 a.m. on Twitter over the choices you made, then you're not really at peace with the choices you made.
Poignant. That is poignant. Yes. Well, so we'll just let it. We'll stick the landing right there. But that's some food for thought, Lee, or anyone out there who's getting too far in the replies. Like, guys, we're all talking about just playing golf, right? Okay, all right. Oh, okay, all right. I'm just glad we're all on the same page there. Okay.
Yep. There you go. All right, let's look ahead to another big event coming up. It's always a fun time at the Players Championship at TPC Sawgrass.
That's right.
Another loaded field, and I mean, who do we like here? Is Jason Day gonna put a cherry on top of his comeback here, as this is his comeback season, and say, I'm back? Yeah.
That's a fun idea. Interesting. He's actually he had a good finish at Waste Management a few weeks ago.
He did.
So it could be on your radar if you're looking at a long shot. Top of the board, obviously, it's Rahm, Rory, Scheffler. We start the conversation with them. Out of the 3, I think I like Rory's chances the best this week out of those 3 guys, just in that mini little pool right there. So if I were to throw anyone on the card, I would. I'm also looking at Justin Thomas this week, candidly. He's a guy that hasn't had fantastic form in recent weeks, but he's been around leaderboards enough, and he's a Players Champion in 2021 that I think he stands a chance to find some pretty good form here. You can check out the rest of my card on my runyourpool.com article. I got the full preview out for the players, and I got 6 picks there. That's a little taste right there. But again, like you mentioned, this is probably a fully loaded, if not maybe the most loaded field in golf. One of the hardest events to get into, the Players. So everyone who's here made it in because of how they're playing. And guess what, Mike? Fun news. 144 guys in the field. Player number 144 last in the field. Our boy, Dylan Wu. How about that?
Nice. There we go. I like it. I'm going to throw out a couple other names for you, and I just want a gut reaction. Okay. Another personal connection for you. Keegan Bradley. He's got a pair of top 10s and a T16 since 2016 here at TPC Sawgrass. He's really good at his putting right now. Finished tied for 10 at Bay Hill this weekend. Keegan Bradley.
That's a decent pick. He plays well on tough courses. Maybe wind picks up in North Florida. Little rain shower on Saturday. Gets a little gloomy. Maybe we throw the windbreakers on. I don't know what the weather forecast truly looks like, to be honest. But if we get a vibe like that and a 9-10 under par winner, I could see Keegan hanging around. It could be a spot for him. That's not a crazy pick. I don't mind that. Yeah.
One other name who has won here, who's just looking for that spark, is Ricky Fowler.
And we have seen him recently in the last month or two. He was completely MIA for like the last 12 to 18 months. But recently he's found some form. So that's not crazy. That's an interesting couple you pulled out there. I like that for Sawgrass. Yeah. And a guy, I mean, remember he won that epic playoff on the 17th? Remember he kept remember he birdied the 17th hole like over and over again, like a million times on Sunday to win in that playoff. So yeah, he's got great memories here as well too. And yes, obviously we'll be watching 17. In my article, Mike, I put the over-under of balls hit in the water on 17 this week. I've got over-under 53.5 balls in the water. What do you think? Over-under?
Over.
Yeah. It's
I
pretty
don't know
safe
what the average is, but I'm just going to go ahead and say over.
Now, average is around the 60, 70 range, but it should be a fun week at Sawgrass. Again, check out runyourpool.com for the full preview. And the fun little tidbit I wanted to add, we did mention the LIV Tour players. One who's been pretty quiet, who just popped in the news this evening, right before we hopped on recording, Jacksonville, Florida resident Cam Smith. Now, you remember, he is the defending champion at the Players. He's the reigning Open champion, and he happened to mention Monday evening in an interview that he's not doing anything this week. he might just head over to TPC Sawgrass and just take in the coverage. Now, I know you and I are one for the headlines and the newsmakers. How amazing would that be if Cam Smith just walked through the gallery at TPC Sawgrass as the defending champion this week? That would be amazing.
Is he going to be sporting his LIV gear?
Yeah, I mean, full sponsors, casual LIV golf hat, taking pictures with the fans. That would be a funny headline if it comes to fruition this weekend. So hopefully we can all talk that into existence. He
should do it while carrying his trophies.
Oh my! Oh wait! Open championship in one hand, Players championship trophy in the other. Right. Of course, right. It only makes sense. Yeah.
Why not?
Love it.
There you go. Full picks will be up on Twitter on Wednesday evening for Alex Course of Life 1 on Twitter, and we'll see what happens over the weekend. For now, let's switch over to Tuned In, where we share what we're tuning into outside of the world of sports. It's Oscar prep weekend. It's right around the corner, the Oscars.
Thank you for the segue. The other Run Your Pool article is an Oscars betting preview out next week. So get excited for that. So,
and this weekend, I had the opportunity to go watch in theater at the Trustees Theater, which is the theater owned by SCAD here in Savannah, for free, mind you, which was fantastic. I got to go see Tar.
Okay, and Cate Blanchett. Correct.
Cate Blanchett.
So directly, evenly matched up with Michelle Yeoh from Everything Everywhere All at Once for Best Actress. They are head-to-head, even odds to win on Sunday. Okay.
So I have seen both movies. I've seen Everything Everywhere All at Once, and now I've seen Tar. Cate Blanchett is Cate Blanchett. She's fantastic. She's fantastic in everything. She could, be in a movie where she's, I don't know, does nothing, and she'd still be fantastic.
She could play 18 holes of golf and she'd be fantastic.
I know. And this movie was spectacular. It is a movie about a fictional, quote unquote fictional. There's some backstory there. I'll let you all Google it. Female composer who's supposed to be one of the best of all time. Okay. And it's about her fall from grace. Really. It's the best way I can explain it without really giving anything away. Everything Everywhere All at Once and Michelle Yeoh, it's better. That's better. It's a better movie. That's a better performance.
So, I was going to ask for your head-to-head, hand on the table. Who do you like Sunday night to win between those two?
If Everything Everywhere All at Once wasn't able to do what they did with no money, then definitely Tar would win. But Everything Everywhere All at Once was able to do so much and do it differently and kind of, do it in such a way that you don't realize what you're really watching. I mean, the movie's synopsis of Everything Everywhere is an Asian immigrant tries to do her taxes. I mean,
yes, wonderful. Love that.
So both movies are fantastic. I encourage everyone to go see them. If you can somehow see both of them in theaters, then you need to see them on a big screen for sure. But they're spectacular, spectacular films.
Very cool. Love that. Tuned in. Oscars this Sunday night as well, too. I was tuned into a whole bunch of local news because that's pretty much life when you're on vacation where I am in Southwest Florida. It's so funny, Mike. Basically, the entire community is 60 and up, as you know, here in Southwest Florida. So the elderly, they love their local news. And I swear these local channels just have a rotation of anchors going on all day and all night. There is news from 4 a.m. straight through to 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. to 11 p.m. There's rarely a gap in the day where you can't find a random innocuous local news broadcast. So that's what I've been tuned into for this past week when I haven't been getting my tan on.
And what was the best headline you saw on the news?
Ooh, that's a great question.
Is there a good Florida man headline you can share with us?
Yes, there was. There were a couple of very, very drunk Floridians who were taking things other than cars. I'm trying to remember exactly what they were taking. I think it was either a lawnmower or tractor. It was a very Florida man story. It was so cliche that it sounds like I'm making it up, but it actually happened here in Southwest Florida this past week. So yeah, Florida man drives something other than a car home from the bar and gets pulled over for a DWI. Not in a car. That's like the most typical Florida man story, and it happens pretty much every year here. So that's just life in paradise for me.
All right. Let's get into this week's first guest, because this is a double feature this week. And,
that's right. Yeah, it's Fitness Week unofficially. Yeah. Fitness Week as well.
It's Fitness Week. That's what we're going to call it. Fitness Week, even though it could also be Oscars Week. But fitness is more important because it gives you health. And health
Oscars
is what keeps
fitness,
you alive.
Episode title. There you go.
Watch a movie while you're staying fit. There you go.
Yes.
But anyway, so Fitness Week. So wellness on and off the golf course is important. Mm-hmm. And this week's first guest is the queen of men's health, Allie Gilbert.
I like that title, don't you? For a female working in the fitness industry and working with golfers specifically. I got to meet Allie at the PGA show, and we had a really cool and candid conversation. And moments after we talked, she hopped on the stage and gave this similar presentation to what you're hearing in this conversation to a really cool, a really anticipated and excited crowd. So this is a very neat conversation, not only for men, but women out there about their health, both on and off the golf course as well. All right, we're back live at the PGA show here in Orlando, Florida, joined by a really cool golf fitness guru that I just started following, Golf Digest Top 50, creator of Metabolic Golf, as well too, here to get into everything regarding golf and fitness. It's Allie Gilbert joining us on the Course of Life. Allie, how you doing today?
Hi, how are you?
Doing very well.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you just got in. Thoughts on the PGA show? I know you've got a presentation here later today. Give us and our audience a little taste of what your presentation is going to look like to the PGA show audience here.
So I'm speaking on the Titleist Performance Institute stage at 11:30, and this is my first one since 2019. Okay. It seems like forever because actually 2020 I got sick with some mystery virus. It was a mystery at the time. Right. They're like, "Don't fly. We don't know what you have." I was like, "All right."
Early adapter there.
Yeah, I missed that year's show, but. My specialty is testosterone, and which is funny because I got into men's health through golf fitness because I trained all guys. And you soon realize guys don't go to the doctor ever unless it's a dire emergency.
Yep. I just got my first physical in several years. I'm guilty. There I am.
Yeah, you guys are horrible. So no, I'm kidding. Yeah. But that's how I landed in the men's health arena. And so that's been my niche, so to speak, for the last, 8 or so years. So that's what I'll be talking about, is how to optimize testosterone through nutrition and training and not be scared of testosterone replacement therapy, which many guys are because there's many stigmas surrounding that. So.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, we're definitely going to get into that. Well, let's first just talk about the golf and fitness kind of evolution that obviously you and I have all seen. I look back to the golf I watched in the 90s and what the golfers look like then versus what they look like now. It's like night and day on any tour you look at. Just tell me about how you came into contact with that and what you see daily when you train, and the evolution of also golfers who want to be more fit as well.
Oh my God. It's so funny because, ever since Tiger in 95, it started to gain more popularity. And I first got certified in golf fitness in 2008. So it's been a while. So I have seen the change and the influx in guys who do want to get more fit and they do want to hit the ball farther. And the funny thing is I always found that the conversation always came back around to, well, kind of want to see my abs a little bit. Like, how do I get rid of this? How do I get rid of this? And I was like, this is interesting because a lot of guys will front with golf fitness, but it really just means I want to look good naked. And I was like, okay, cool. So obviously that has changed the way that they view themselves on the course. And they didn't want to be wearing extra large or extra large shirts to hide any fat in their chest that all of a sudden started appearing. They actually wanted to look like the shirt was fitted. Kind of like the Euro Puma, how it fits really nicely. So then that was a real eye-opening experience to be able to address nutrition and aesthetics in golf fitness for these guys. And so they loved the gains, so to speak, but also lifting for golf is very similar to any other sport. And then the byproduct is just looking good if you actually train hard and address your nutrition and stuff like that.
Yeah, very well said. No, yeah. So in terms of your background in working with golfers specifically, when did that all happen and come to fruition from a business standpoint for you?
So when I graduated college, we won't say when, I was like any other person who majored in strength conditioning. I want to work with athletes. We all do. And it's just such a saturated, weird market. And so I grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut, where there's 9 golf clubs.
Yes.
All these golfers were coming in at the gym that I was working at. And I was like, they take training really seriously and they can afford to train, unlike a lot of athletes or professional athletes. So I was like, this is interesting. This is a niche I want to do. Never played golf. I played soccer in college. So I was like, this is a whole new world. So I started bartering with golf professionals locally. So I think I've trained everyone in the Met section.
Yep.
And
that's how you learn the game, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's how I learned. And I was like, this is really fun because they're hyper-focused. They take it very seriously. They train with a purpose for this sport. So that was like, I'm going to specialize in golf fitness. And I found TPI in 2008. Here we are many years later. And since then, I've been working with many guys and focusing on their health from that aspect. So it's a great niche to land in. I've met a lot of awesome people. So I love it.
Love it. Again, Allie Gilbert joining us. Check out her website, Instagram. Love following along and seeing the fitness content. And I love seeing what you do with your students as well, too. So talk about what you're currently doing now with students, the build up you put them through. I see you put them through the ringer sometime, too.
Yes, I do.
What's that mix like?
So after over about 20 years of in-person training, I now do everything online. So I was doing this before COVID, so it wasn't because of COVID, but I found that I can get people a lot better results because I have control over more variables. So when you meet somebody in person for training, obviously it serves a purpose. They become proficient in the technical aspect of lifting.
Okay.
But you can't really handle the nutrition. You can't handle their sleep and stress and all this stuff unless you do that outside. So remotely, I can work with people from all over the world.
Everyone, you out there right now.
You guys, yeah. I'm not scary. People have named me the queen of men's health, which I take very seriously.
No, that's a good title. I like
and so I can do nutrition and training over the internet, and it's amazing. It's not live, but coaching where I provide programs, people do them wherever. If you have a basement, if you have a commercial gym to work out at, wherever. And yeah, that's what we do. And then we talk about testosterone replacement. I have a network of providers that are competent, great medical professionals that I can introduce guys to.
That's nice. Okay.
When they're not sure who to go to because they don't like going to the doctor.
And you're kind of being that intermediary resource. It takes a little bit of the burden and the stigma of them doing it, I feel like.
Absolutely. Because I'm not the wife who's yelling and nagging for you to go. I'm also a female who's understanding that a lot of the issues guys experience are common, even though they may not be normal. But you still can be 28, 29, even younger, and experiencing erection issues, or you have low T. That used to not be a thing. And guys are like, I'm too young for that. Like, I should be 70. And it's actually really common in younger guys. So I serve as kind of like that bridge of, no, go talk to this guy. You won't have to go to anybody else. You won't have to wait in a waiting room. You'll get your answers to all the questions and you'll be actually taken care of.
Love it. And for those out there who don't want to ask the really basic question, let's just walk through testosterone, what it is. So out there, I know the term vaguely, but how guys, golfers out there of all likes can understand what their T level means for not only their wellness, but their golf as well too. Just to explain what that means.
So testosterone is the hormone that makes a man a man. So women have testosterone just like men have estrogen, but it is responsible for that drive in life, for cognition, for feeling motivated and just wanting to win. Men want to win. You guys want to solve problems. You're competitive, all of that stuff. As that starts to decline, guys tend to feel less zest for life, less motivation. They're just like, you know what? My job or my family really used to motivate me. Now I'm kind of like, whatever.
Yeah, it can wait. Yeah, maybe next year.
Exactly. Yeah. Or they really feel like their energy in the gym is not what it used to be, and their energy in all areas of life, and it could be performance in the bedroom. Most guys think, well, my penis still works, therefore I must not have low T.
Sure, yeah.
But that's only a small part of that.
More to it.
Okay. No pun intended. But that is only like literally it's multifactorial. Yeah. So addressing all aspects of that, because that is part of your health. Optimal testosterone will put you at a low risk of a cardiovascular event, of cancer, of all these things that usually are the opposite in the media. It does not cause cancer. It does not cause heart attacks. All of that has been refuted. It's one of the scary things that a lot of general practitioner doctors still talk about, just because that's not their area of expertise.
Yeah, and for me, just being the patient, if that cloud gets thrown over you, everyone starts to get a little nervous, cover for the storm, right? Yeah.
I'm not going to go ask one of the golf pros here, hey, can you teach me swimming?
Yeah.
Like that's not their scope of practice. So the same with the general practitioner. They don't have time, in their defense, they don't have time to do all the researching and educate themselves on the latest testosterone research. Leave that to the guys who are dealing with hormone replacement every day. So I'm not saying anything negative about GPs. They have a time and place, but don't go to your GP for HRT, hormone replacement.
Very cool. Well said. Yeah. And the other piece of this as well, too, is your concept of metabolic golf. And now the other side is metabolism in the game. So just kind of walk through metabolic golf, just first the name and the meaning and how it came to be.
So that, oh man, I think it was 2015. My original name was Golfers Who Lift. And I realized that was better off as a hashtag. So I was like, you know what? And I still use it. I still own the domain. If you want it, I'll sell it to you.
Okay, all right, noted.
$100,000. So I was like, golf actually encompasses so many different things, as we all think about, the teaching aspect of the game, the fitness, the psychology, the equipment. What about the health? Health, metabolism, nutrition, fitness, all of those things. I was like, metabolic golf sounds cool. So I bought that domain, and that has since transitioned into Gilbert coaching, which is kind of the umbrella. Metabolic golf is I don't want to say proprietary, but it kind of is like my approach to how I would train a golfer, which encompasses all of those things.
Right.
From health, specifically mostly the men's health aspect of testosterone and TRT and stuff like that.
Okay, very cool. All right, I love that. Now that we got that out of the way, we got to get to the important part here. A little selfishly, I need to talk about my diet, what I'm doing right now, and I want you to give me honest feedback about what's good and what's not about it. So this is going to air after the fact, but I'm at the end of that dry January. That's very common out there. Yes. It's becoming a much trendier thing over the years. I'm doing that with my workouts, but I'm also doing a very low carb diet. Now, you talk a lot about carbs and how they affect exercise and metabolism. So knowing that I'm doing a diet, it's extremely low carb. It's dry January, but it's very low carb. What is that doing for me, and what is it not doing for me?
That's a great question to ask about what is it, isn't it? So your brain runs on glucose, as do the testicles. So I always say, if you want your brain and if you want your balls to work, we need some glucose.
I'm decently interested in those two working, yeah.
If it's just one or the other, you can stay low carb. But generally, the low carb craze has come from where you can lose weight dropping carbs overnight, because carbs make you hold water. And with every gram of carbohydrate we eat, we bring up to 3 grams of water. So if you drink 8 ounces of water, you're going to weigh more if you step on the scale than if you weighed yourself before drinking water. So that's where people flip out when they see the scale go up overnight. You can't gain body fat that quickly. And if you do the math of how many calories somebody ate, it's very unlikely that they gained body fat in an 8-hour period. So low carb can deprive you of energy. It can deprive you of optimal thyroid hormone, which is the master metabolism hormone. It can deprive you of testosterone because your body's like, I have no energy to work off of. So I'm not going to keep my body in a state where it's healthy to procreate. Why would I procreate if I feel like I'm losing energy? So it's great for somebody who's very sedentary and does not do a lot of activity. But if you're going to be playing golf, if you're going to be in the gym, I would suggest finding the appropriate amount of carbs that you can tolerate are going to benefit you over the long term. Most of my clients are on moderate to high carb diets that are very active.
Okay.
If you have diabetes and if you have glucose issues or blood sugar issues, obviously that's a different approach. But for the general men tend to do very well on carbs. And my clients tend to have wars with each other on Instagram, tagging each other on who's at the highest carb amount at what meal.
Oh, wow.
So my highest guy right now is over 600 grams. And my lowest, I have him at 50 to 75.
Okay.
And then there's a lot in between. I have guys in the 400s, 500s, all that stuff. But they all started at like 100 and they felt awful and they looked in their mind awful. And so now they are all ridiculously shredded.
Okay.
They feel amazing. Like all of these good things happen.
That's the balance I'm presenting. So I'm a good sample size because I'm just, that average body type and shape. I work out 3 to 4 times a week. It's mostly cardio. I play enough active golf to stay in decent shape. So for myself, what sort of carb level would I be looking to reintroduce? And why can I essentially scratch that low carb knowing I'm exercising that much,
So it's very contextual, but I'm not going to be like, it depends, you know? So I would say if you start, like say you're at 0, if you started at maybe 50 grams of white rice or something that you like that's also easily digestible after your workout, that's the best place to put it because your body is most likely to take that and shove it in the muscle to refuel. Then if that feels good, over time, you start to add a little bit more. Maybe we go from 50 to 75. And then maybe we go from just post-workout to pre-workout. And then maybe we go to bedtime because they do help you sleep. So then all of a sudden the structure builds up and you start to feel a certain way. Now,
it's funny that 2-mile run is a lot harder on a low carb diet, man.
Oh my God.
It's like night and day.
Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah.
That's misery.
Yeah, I know. It's ending. It's ending very soon. Trust me. And now that I've had this conversation, I know how to go about it correctly. And that's the thing that really people need to learn because, you hear these things, but you don't always interact with the professional and get the professional feedback. So that's the segue to. So tell me about how the online coaching works, maybe a fitness metabolism standpoint, just golf and gym aside, just getting the wellness part better, what you can put in your body.
So I always I'm very direct. Like I am very honest.
I appreciate that too. Follow her on social. She's very direct with her content.
I am.
No messing around. We're all honesty here.
And it's funny because people are like, I always appreciate your approach. And I'm like, I don't know how to be any other way. So that's me. Take it or leave it. But if a guy comes to me and he wants XYZ goals and he has been eating super low carb or a certain way that he likes, I will say, listen, if you're looking for this, what you're doing now is obviously not getting you there. Are you willing to change what you're doing? Because usually what I do is ask backwards from what the media says. Media says cut carbs, intermittent fast, do all these things.
Exactly.
A lot of men intermittent fast with no carbs and they wonder why they feel awful.
That I can't do. I will not go that far. That's the no.
If you enjoy it, it's fine. But I see like a lot of men can't get the calories they need in the day. So now you're narrowing the window that you're allowing yourself to eat. And so obviously you're setting yourself up for failure. So I assess what they're eating. I have them log food for about a week just to see where they fall. I don't care where it comes from. It could be KFC, whatever. I just want to see how much protein, how many carbs, how many fat. Cool. This is the goal. All right, cool. I'm going to match your nutrition to your training program. And now we start the process. And as the weeks go by, you will give me feedback as to how you're feeling, how you're looking, how you're sleeping, how you're performing, how you feel, physically, emotionally, sexually, all these things. Take that into account. Then I will decide if and when we need to make a change. And so this is a process that takes a long time.
Yeah.
People are very used to quick transformations. I'm always like, yo, come hang out with me for a year. And they're like, what? And I'm like, literally, it takes a year because I don't know your background. It's like dating. So it takes at least 3 months to get to know if you're crazy or not.
Yep, that's right.
So we all know that.
Past that first flag.
Yeah. and there's nothing TMI in my world. So I want to know everything about you. So within that 3 months, I have an idea of how your body responds to stuff, how coachable you are, because you present a certain way, but then when we get into it, could be different, just like dating. Then it's a lot easier to be able to build calories up, which is what I usually do, because a lot of guys undereat, unless you're overweight and obese. I tend to get guys that are not necessarily super obese, but just want to lose body fat and maybe build muscle.
Yep.
So it's building calories up. And then once we get to a certain point, then we can start to go dieting again. And that's usually an easier process. Many, and women too, but many guys are like, I've tried to lose fat. I'm eating 1,800 calories, which is like the magic man number. Why can't I drop this body fat? And it's usually the love handles in the stomach, because that's the last to go on guys. But now they've driven themselves into a hole because they're training so much and eating so little that nothing is working.
Yeah.
So I build calories back up. Will they gain all this weight? Maybe a few pounds because of food volume and carbohydrates. It stabilizes. And so now your body feels safe again. It feels safe to procreate. So if you lost your erection, you'll get it back. All of these good things happen. And then we can lower calories just a little bit and you'll see a response. But that doesn't happen in a month. It takes at least, I say, give yourself at least at minimal 90 days.
Yeah, you got to be in it for the long haul. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen overnight. Well said. And for those out there who are very interested in getting more of that in their life, how can they contact you directly to receive the coaching?
Slide in the DMs on Instagram at the Ali Gilbert, ALI. And there's also an application in my bio to work with us. So we have a great team of coaches. It's not just me. I've all trained them up over years. I hire slow, fire fast. So I have a great group of guys. So yeah, come work with us. We've got group training. We've got individual coaching. We've got one-off consultations. We have like our group training. We have a great community on Facebook that everyone busts each other's balls because that is what I require. So if you are sensitive, we might not be for you.
That's perfect. Well said. Perfectly enveloped there. We end with our 19th hole question for every interview. So when you finish, let's say, a round of golf and you get into the clubhouse, what's your favorite thing to have as like a meal and a drink after you play?
A burger.
Straight up. I mean, that's the goat. That's the goat of this question in the 4-year history of this podcast.
I love burgers. Not Impossible Burgers, not that stuff. Oh my
the real
God.
deal.
Just yes.
Topping list, what? Lettuce, tomato, onion? No?
Yeah, the usual, but sweet potato fries. Not because I think that they're healthier. I just don't like regular. I don't know why. I love sweet potato fries.
Man on sweet potato. What's the drink?
Water.
Fair enough. It's Ali Gilbert joining us here on the PGA Show. Ali, thanks so much for hopping on.
Thank you.
Great chat there with Ali Gilbert. Testosterone levels important for men, obviously, and I appreciably think it's that physical health is obviously a good physical health means good mental health, and good mental health means good physical health. They go hand in hand.
Oh, yeah, of course. It's complementary. And especially when you're talking about us golfers, Mike. Golly, we got enough to worry about. We're figuring out our golf game. If our body's not feeling right when we're out there and our mind's not feeling right, things don't happen on the golf course. That's just the reality for anyone out there. So I love the way Ali just really candidly breaks down how guys and everyone out there needs to work their body and get themselves better. And I like how she broke down my year starting diet as well, too, which we'll get into a little bit later. But really cool conversation and really excited to see what more content Ali creates as well.
So let's talk about our next guest. Let's go straight into this and keep the fitness chat going.
Yes.
And we have another fitness guru and golf strength coach who is from your hometown, Alex.
He does. Got a little local connection. You've heard me talk about Neshota Country Club way back in the day. Used to volunteer at a Champions Tour event there. Remember, I was the sign boy for Arnold Palmer for 18 holes at Neshota. Yep. And lo and behold, after all these years, I run into Kevin Duffy at the PGA Show, and he is a coach at Neshota. Not only for members, but does junior classes there and talks about the gym that he runs and everything that he's doing to help golfers as well, too. It was really cool to learn more, not only about my body, but how I can make it more efficient and play better golf. And Kevin has a lot of words of wisdom for those out there who are just looking to figure out their body and their mind at the course as well.
That's right. And we'll get into this conversation with Kevin in just a second, but we have to talk about our friends at Voris Golf.
Yes.
While you're staying fit, it's important to, I think, look good as well while you're doing it. And
look
Voris
good,
Golf,
feel good, play good. It goes hand in hand.
It's what we say. You don't need to really, you can wear whatever you want, but you should feel like you are going to play well in whatever you're wearing. And Voris has some super sharp recycled material polos, so you're being green for the environment as well, with their super bright green Voris logo.
Love it.
It is bright and it is sharp for sure. And of course, they've got their hats as well and their gloves with the Through Touch technology, so you can be sharp in your polo and then still use your gloved hand on your smart device, which just is revolutionary. You don't think you need it until you have it. And you're like, priceless. How did I go on without this for so long? So Voris, that's German for advancement, and they're enhancing the golf experience with everything they have. You can find everything at vorisgolf.com, and you can use our promo code COL18 to save yourself 18% off anything that they sell. Again, that's promo code COL18 for 18% off anything at vorisgolf.com.
All right, next up on the Course of Life, live from the PGA show floor, we're joined by a fitness trainer who's based out of Nashada Country Club, a golf course venue that I have a lot of history to. We're going to get to that and more, but I'm looking forward to speaking with our next guest, Kevin Duffy. Coach Kevin Duffy, how you doing today, man?
Great, how are you? Nice to meet you.
Great to have you, man. We'll get into that Nashada connection in a bit, but first I'm curious about your background in fitness. Was this something that was just always in your life? Did you find fitness later in your life? What's your background?
Yeah, so I've been coaching of some sort or relation since I was basically a sophomore in high school. So I knew I was going to be some type of coach. I thought when I started out more athletic training or more of the collegiate side, but once I did the collegiate side, I realized it's not really it's not the easiest way to make a living. It's a lot of hours.
Got it.
And
that's a grind. I feel like a lot of rides there too.
Yeah, there's a lot of grind, and then every once in a while, if you have a losing season, like if you make it up to the higher ranks, like you're done. So it could have either you could have done a great job, you could have done a bad job, and you still might be done if the team loses. So it's a little too much risk. But I started in college hockey. Out at
Where'd you play in college?
Oh, no. I didn't play college hockey. I played college football.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I took a long route to get to golf. I went football.
What was your position in football?
I was outside linebacker. So
nice. That's cool.
I was at Southern Connecticut and then Westfield State.
Yeah, Southern Connecticut. Well, I went to school just down the road at Quinnipiac University.
Okay,
so we're basically neighbors in a past life.
My sister went there.
Nice.
Yeah,
small world.
It's a beautiful campus.
Yeah, love it. Very cool. So now, from a fitness perspective, the evolution of fitness in the game of golf is like night and day from when you and I were kids to where we are now. Like, I think about the first golf I saw in the 90s growing up, and it was just, old men in pot bellies that wouldn't ever bother going to the gym or anything like that. And to see the way fitness has gotten into the game now, what's just your take on just that change we've seen in the last few decades?
The change is obviously good for business from both the perspective of, the healthy lifestyle being promoted and it being more of a commonality to have people train and play golf. Whereas it, used to be that it was more of a leisure sport and lifting was not looked at. And luckily for me and a lot of people in my field, Tiger Woods came along and started hitting bombs. So that's changed a lot. So most of the clients that I work with are probably somewhere between 30 and 55, my primary clientele. And then obviously I have my outliers with my college golfers and my Corn Ferry and LPGA players. But the primary workload is with your everyday golfer looking to make sure that they can beat their friends and continue to do so week in and week out while their buddies are hoping that, a pit stop for birdie juice will help them out. My clients are hitting it past them. That's the reason we are able to
birdie juice.
Yeah, that's
blowing it by everybody.
That's the reason we're able to make a living. Like, keep hitting it long, boys.
Love it. Tell me the golfers today that we see. Obviously, you mentioned Tiger completely changed the landscape of fitness and golf for everyone. But nowadays, you see it. It's ubiquitous across all tours. It could be maybe players that you work with currently or just players that we see on TV who are maybe some good role models from a fitness standpoint that you see that people out there could emulate.
Yeah, I like a lot of stuff that is coming out of the tour for sure. There's some guys that are obviously showcasing like their most advanced version of exercises, and that's actually my conversation point later today. So the most advanced version of an exercise would be like JT doing like a twist on a ball with a band at the same time. His workout's great, but that's Justin Thomas. He's been doing that for 10 plus years. So what emulates to the everyday golfer might be a little bit different than what's being showed on the PGA Tour truck. But I think that, Scott Stallings started doing some really cool stuff with kind of like producing a little bit more common man golf fitness, which I like. It's a little bit more of a CrossFit take than I generally prescribe for my athletes. But, there's plenty of different ways to get results. Scott Stallings, JT, I like a lot of the stuff they're doing. Bryson finally figured it out and leaned down and stopped eating so much, plant protein.
I was going to get your 30-second take on the whole Bryson fiasco. It looks like he's come back to reality a little bit with that whole thing.
So he went a route that is very familiar to like football, because sometimes in football, an athlete can get so obsessed with lifting that they're less concerned about their skill development.
The movement.
So it might not be a skill development thing. I'm sure that guy's a nut and banging balls all the time.
Oh, yeah.
But his frame was taking on more of a middle linebacker, and it would have fit him better at a safety type feel. So in the football world that I came from, it's almost like what I did my junior year, where I almost lifted my way out of my starting position. He almost lifted his way into injury and into problems because he got so big, and the breaking point ended up being his hand, because where the heck else is all that force going to go? And I think most of his issues came from diet based. That was my opinion. He just got too large, too fast by using, food that probably wouldn't. He would have been better off eating some grass-fed beef instead of chugging so many plant-based proteins, in my opinion.
Love that. Yeah, no, and thank you for bringing that back to the hand injury, because a lot of people out there maybe didn't put that together as to what the genesis of that and why
force has to go somewhere. Yeah, force has to go somewhere, and it ended up going through his hand. And I mean, he probably wasn't shocked. It probably was coming.
I'm curious. You have a really good catchphrase that you use a lot, and it's doing the simple things savagely well. I want to talk about that catchphrase and how that applies to golfers of any age, body type, or skill level, because that's just an important thing to keep in the back of your mind when you're working towards a goal, no matter what level it is.
Yeah, there's exercises that you can pull off the tour truck and they'll be useful for you. However, my conversation with all of my players is, listen, that doesn't necessarily get you towards your end goal. Your end goal is to be more athletic. If you are more athletic, you will, look, I'm playing better golf. If I'm able to increase your ability to create force, turn, separate, and get stronger over the ball, by any factor, you will get better at your game. Yeah. So the idea that I need to make this golf workout as golfy as possible, I think, has become a little too highlighted, rather than being like, hey, listen, a deadlift using a kettlebell and a band and a few dumbbells, we can really make a large impact in your game, rather than trying to make the most complex version of this process.
Well said. Yeah. Okay, very cool. So again, it's Coach Kevin Duffy joining us here on the PGA show floor. So take us through a day in the life when you're doing this training. I know it's probably a mix of clients on the professional side. You're also doing your work at Nishotic. So just tell me what a day looks like for you when you're training.
So right now, I own a gym in Acton, Massachusetts called Rotational Power Strength. So right now, that's my baby. That's what I'm putting most of my time and attention to. And then at the club, I'm basically only there 3 days a week, and I just run through as many clients as I possibly can get to in those time frames at Nishotic. For some reason, it's very popular to do private training, and it's not as popular to do group, so I'm just doing 1 hour, one person, whereas at my gym in Acton, I'm running semi-privates, so I'm able to coach 4 or 5 people at a time. Everybody's got their own individualized program, and we're able to get a lot done. So I have a lot of fun coaching more of that semi-private model, but then after semi-private in the morning, I'm basically privates all day, and then I have my kids in the afternoon, and that's a semi-private model. But it's a lot. The kids are fun, but there's a reason I only do them over the winter. High school is it. There will be no middle school. It's too much corralling.
Nice segue. I'm going to ask about that. I saw you working with the kids. Getting kids that age into golf fitness, I feel like now by that age, they're on their phones. They see what the golfers these days look like, so they can look up to that. But what's that process like working with kids that age and getting them into fitness?
So generally, I push for high school.
Yep.
High school, you can start, and I can make an impact. We can make an impact on a case-by-case basis with younger kids for sure. But I think they would benefit, in my opinion, from like going to play other sports, wrestling with their friends, climbing a tree, like learn to run, cut, jump, and sprint. Like some of the best athletes in the world didn't play golf beforehand, right? Like Gary Woodland was a college basketball player.
Right, yeah.
Tony Finau played basketball, right? Brooke Henderson played hockey. There's across the board in every sport, professional or non-professional, there's a pull or a use from other sports. So the ability to pull from those athletic development that they use playing soccer or whatever it was is massive rather than just specializing in golf right off the bat. I'm not saying don't play golf all the time. I'm saying you don't need to quit basketball if you live in New England because you want to be a college golfer in 6 years from now.
Yeah.
That's silly.
That is silly.
Go learn on jumping and cutting and changing direction, please.
I'm glad I kept playing sports in Massachusetts growing up as a kid that weren't golf.
Yeah.
It gave me that divide.
Otherwise, you'd get bored because I'm currently avoiding shoveling my driveway at home, and I'm sure my wife wants to kill me.
Yes. I saw you guys got more snow. I'm sitting there in Austin, Texas, saying, geez, more snow for Boston. That's too bad. I feel bad for you guys.
Yeah.
But tell me about Nashotah. I've got a lot of history there because I had played high school matches there. I used to volunteer at a professional golf tournament that was held there when I was a little kid. So I've walked that course no less than 50 times in my life. What do you love most about that venue?
It's an easy walk. That it's not very hilly, but the best thing about that course is the greens are never not pure. They're always pure. It's easy. Like if it looks straight, it's straight. It's not like a hidden, there's not a ton of hidden curves. Like if it looks like it's going to go down like 5 degrees, it's that's what it is. So the pace is really fun. Playing at those greens obviously helps me when I go play other places. But it hurts me if I play somewhere slow. I'm terrible. I mean, lack of ability to adjust is there. That's my fault. But it is slow. If it's slow, I'm screwed. If it's fast, I'm going to play better. But that's just being a spoiled golf fitness coach with good perks.
Yeah, those greens are pure indeed. Yeah, I had a lot of memories there. I got to walk 18 holes with Arnold Palmer when I was like 11 or 12 years old. I was the sign boy back in the day for a Champions Tour event at Nashotah.
That's
but
fantastic.
The cool one that you'll appreciate from a fitness perspective is my 18 holes with Gary Player, who is just an absolute fitness madman.
He's a nut.
80-something years old.
Yeah.
So he was 68 years old when I held the sign for him. And I'll never forget the day because he shot 67 and broke his age.
That's good.
For the first time in a few years. Now, he had said some crazy things about like 500 or 1,000 crunches a day or something like that. What do you make of that at his age? Someone being able to continuously do that after all these years.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it, Gary. Keep going. Like if somebody, for example, like if I hear somebody vehemently defending a thing that's not working, I get confused. I am like, you're speaking Chinese to me. I don't understand. But if it's working, keep doing it. If you're able to produce results, keep doing it. If there's a more efficient way to, do it, I'm sure it is. But if he's not getting injured, he's not having chronic pain, and if he is, we don't know about it, then keep doing it. But if he had like 1,000 crunches and he had a consistent low back problem and he kept doing a crunch, I'd be like, hey, man, probably not. I personally am not prescribing traditional crunches to my athletes, but there's more efficient ways from either like more workload or less injury than a crunch. But like if someone's like, are push-ups bad for me? I'd be like, well, do you have any injury history? No, then do push-ups. Go ahead.
Yeah, well said. Yeah, it's incredible what he's done. He still, does the whole stretching routine on every first tee, up to the top, touches his toes.
I'm here for it.
As flexible as ever.
Keep going.
I love it, man. Again, it's Coach Kevin Duffy joining us here live at the PGA Show. It's CoachKevinDuffy.com, Coach Kevin Duffy on Instagram as well, too. Let's get to some quick shot questions, and we'll transition out of golf because I saw that you are a snowboarder. Of course you are because you're in New England.
Mm-hmm.
What's your favorite snowboarding mountain in New England?
I like so the boys and I started to hike when COVID came in because the rules that applied to going to snowboard were some of the silliest I had ever seen. I was like,
vaguely,
yeah. So we said enough of that and we bought backcountry stuff. So some of my best experiences on a snowboard recently have been backcountry. Wow. So we hiked Jay Peak. That was pretty intense. was a lot of fun. Got a little hairy up there, but I'm with a good crew. As far as like everyday riding though, like taking a traditional lift, I would go Sugarbush. That's probably my favorite. Warren, Vermont is beautiful.
It is. I've done some ski trips there back in the day. I wasn't as successful as my buddies were, but it's a fun time going there nonetheless. And transitioning also, favorite golf course on Cape Cod, because I know you got some Cape Cod connection as well too. So you can't say Nishotic, obviously, because that's not on the Cape, but it's a beautiful Long Island stretch in Massachusetts. What's your favorite?
I'll give you my top three. My number one.
Played a few good ones recently. So
I was spoiled enough to go with a member, do like a pro-am, and we played at the Vineyard Club. On Martha's Vineyard. That was amazing. Farm Neck is great, even though it owes me a few more golf balls back. And then my favorite local gem, which I basically don't want to tell people about, is Cape Cod Country Club, because they've got like the fastest greens for public golf.
Oh, so they're without there for you.
Yeah, they're fast. they're it's public without like having a crazy price tag. Like some of the golf in Cape Cod, I'm like, come on. This price tag's getting a little obscene.
Yeah, CCCC, love it.
Yeah, C4 we call it. C4.
Nice. All right, let's get to the food questions. I saw on the website, CoachKevinDuffy.com, you listed veal saltimbocca as a favorite of yours. Now, I grew up in Boston. I've had a million Italian meals in my life. I'm not super familiar with veal saltimbocca, though, so walk our audience through what's in it.
So if I'm in the North End, which is not too often, I have a 4-month-old now, so it's not as often, but when I'm in the North End, I'm going to be eating very unhealthy. So like that saltimbocca,
that's your cheat meal.
Yeah. Oh, the cream based. Oh my God. It's fantastic. Like I'm guilty of we went to Italy for a friend's wedding. And so now I've become a little bit more.
Got a little culture in you?
Yeah.
Just enough, right?
I wish I wasn't as snobby, but veal saltimbocca seems to be one of my go-tos just because it's a little bit better than, the chicken parm version, or a chicken saltimbocca is not as good. Yeah. I find the veal better.
Love it. Cool. And we always wrap with our 19th hole question. So curious to get the fitness-based answer on this one. When you get in from 18 holes, you get into your favorite clubhouse. Maybe it's the 19th hole to Nishotic. What's your favorite order for like a meal and a drink after you play around?
Won't be drinking at the club I work at. So,
Coca-Cola.
Yeah, no, we're going to just go water and thank you, boys. Have a nice day. I'm going home. Thank you for the round. But I am their favorite guest because they don't have to pay for me.
Yep.
But you really can't go wrong with an Arnold Palmer or if you're going to spice it up, put a Tito's in there and call it a John Daly's.
Yep.
But the go-to food, nothing too hot. Like if it's hot, I'm not really going for a burger, something a little bit less.
The cool food item that we get in this question all the time is the chicken Caesar wrap.
Yeah, everybody's obsessed with chicken Caesar wrap. It's just a lot of Caesar. Yep. I'm here for the protein. I'm a strength coach.
The twin towers of this question and answer are the burger, fries, and the chicken Caesar wrap. Those are like the two most popular answers.
It's the thing that we trust the golf course to screw up the least.
Yeah.
It's a golf course. I want the greens to be better than the food. So, that would be it. But I'm trying to think of my last time I ordered, I think I got like a chicken BLT on a bun with like some, not aioli, but like a spicy mayo.
Oh, yeah.
That was really good. I'm a sucker for some spicy mayo.
Definitely. Love it. Cool. Hey, Kevin, thank you so much for hopping on the Course of Life. Really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of the show week, and best of luck with all the training moving forward as well.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
And we're back. Great chat there with Kevin Duffy. And before that, Allie Gilbert. Fitness Week. We got all the tips we need now to stay fit and make sure we're ready to go.
That's that motivation right there. It's like, if you can't get motivation from those two conversations to find it within you to maybe lift one or two more weights, to do one or two more reps, or just a couple more steps on the treadmill, I don't know where else you're going to find it. But that was really cool to get perspective from both Allie and Kevin, and great to meet them as well. Hopefully we cross paths in the future too.
And if you like those interviews, make sure you follow us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Twitters, everywhere. You punch that subscribe button as well. And you can watch some of these interviews because Alex was able to record with a video camera some of these chats he had at the PGA show. So if you go to our YouTube channel, Link is in the show description. You'll be able to go over there and watch these interviews so you can see these beautiful, fit people telling Alex how to make himself more fit.
Well said, because Allie Gilbert's going to prove exactly why she's a fitness guru and coach within 3 seconds of seeing her when you put her next to me on a camera. So that's a good promotion for the YouTube video as well, too.
Yep, that's right. Let's do a little childhood throwback. We haven't done one of these in a while. I think it's odd that we're going to do this during Fitness Week, but we have to talk about Toblerone. You got a little
chocolate headline, don't you?
I mean, I don't know if you saw, this was breaking today. Toblerone, of course, in a triangle box, usually has the Matterhorn on the box.
Right.
And it's from Switzerland is what it says on there.
Yes.
Well, they're no longer Swiss enough to have the Matterhorn on the box.
Oh, so I don't know if you saw,
so the Switzerland has some very strict rules around using Swiss things if you're not from Switzerland.
Oh, wow. So Toblerone has just gotten their authentication card revoked, basically.
Pretty much. Mondelez, which owns like everything, pretty much, is not making all of Swiss chocolate Toblerones in Switzerland anymore. So they can't be called Swiss chocolate anymore. So, wow. I'm sorry, Alex.
Tough shot for Toblerone as the brand right there. Not great.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens. See if it still is good.
That's an L for classic chocolate right there. Tough one.
I know. It's depressing. But there you go. Let's talk about other sports now for a quick second. Let's talk about basketball. It's conference championship weekend.
Yep, it is.
Quinnipiac. Let's talk Quinnipiac real quick. What are our chances? Are we going to be dancing?
Yeah, I wrote the preview for all the big conference tournaments coming up this weekend on runyourpool.com. So be sure to check that out and all of my bets on the big conferences for who's going to be punching their tickets on the bracket coming out this Sunday night. But yeah, most importantly to us, it's that MAC bracket, Mike. Here's the elephant in the room. Here's your odds right here. It's all about, can we beat Iona? So the deal with Quinnipiac and Iona is we split the season series with them. We crushed them in the first game, and we lost a close one in the second game. Iona is the resounding favorite, minus 200 odds, Mike. And Quinnipiac coming in second at plus 400. So 4-1 odds, Mike. You want $10 on the Bobcats to get it done and dance for the first time? It could happen.
Maybe.
It's not crazy. They're the second favorite in terms of odds to win the conference championship. So we'll see.
We'll see how it goes.
3 wins to glory. 3 wins.
Do you have any other big surprises out there in conference championship land that we should be aware of? Just thinking about?
Yeah, a couple. Watch out for Montana State and the Big Sky. I've got a few more picks in the runyourpool.com article. I do like Texas and the Big 12 over Kansas. Just take a look at all the different conferences broken down. I had a few winners from this past weekend. So if you're looking to just build that March Madness bankroll, get a few extra dollars in your pocket before the brackets are released, be sure to check out that article and see who I like this week.
All right, there you go. Runyourpool.com for that and all the other articles Alex writes there, because you're writing a lot over there now.
Oh, yeah. 3 a week. We're golden. Yeah.
Ooh. Let's talk baseball. It's spring training. I only care because baseball is back, but it's just weird. The bases are a little bigger. You can't move 4 guys to the right side of the infield on defense. And there's a pitch clock. And you're in Southwest Florida right now, and you went to a Red Sox Astros spring training game and saw the clock. What did you think?
Yeah, so 15 seconds when no one is on base per pitch, and then it's up to 20 seconds when there are guys on base. Important little caveat there for people who are wondering as well, too. You don't really get a feel for how fast it is until you see it for a few innings. Honestly, Mike, it didn't seem super rushed. I will say, if I had to pick one party who felt more rushed, it's definitely the pitcher that feels more rushed. I think the batter is much more okay with it. There's a little bit more gamesmanship on the batter's end, trying to extend the length of an at-bat. So I felt like they were a little bit more comfortable from the pitchers, and the offense showed. There was a lot of offense, a lot more balls in play, a lot more balls in the outfield. That was my first immediate reaction. But the other reaction was in the crowd immediately around me, Mike. Everyone talking about the pitch clock. The pitch clock is the buzziest thing like to ever come to the baseball field for baseball fans. So if nothing else, it's creating a lot of conversation amongst fans.
Were there any pitch count countdowns going on, like when the Astros were pitching, because you're at the Sox, you're at JetBlue Stadium down there, where they're like 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 chants going on as the time, or did the fans try to throw them off and try to count it down when it wasn't really counting down that low?
That's an interesting thought. I think that will happen this season, but just JetBlue Park, 4,000 fans just sitting enjoying their vacation. They weren't really that into it. But what I will note for you, which you'll appreciate, is they turn, so the clock is ticking right behind home plate and right behind center field. The clock is ticking down from 15 or 20. And now the moment the pitcher gets into the set, not necessarily the moment he throws it, the clock turns off. So it doesn't keep ticking. They just turn it off and it just disappears. What are your thoughts on that? Just from a fan's perspective, a lot of fans were commenting around me that they thought the clock would continue to tick just in case the pitcher did a balk or paused or did something weird with his release. I feel like it might be a little loophole where pitchers might be timing or delaying their release to F with the batters, but it could be something that comes up in future months.
I mean, I would say a pitcher, as soon as you start your motion, you're throwing the ball. So the clock should end then, because it's not when you release the ball, it's when you pitch the ball. And every pitcher's got a different motion. I'd also assume that the clock is getting turned off so it's not in the line of sight anymore for both the pitcher and the hitter.
I didn't want to bother the guys behind me who were having much more fun than I was and ruin their day. But they were hypothesizing everything that could be. I think it was a line of sight thing. Regardless, the pitch clock is here to stay. It'll be interesting to see how it develops in the weeks and months to come. But fun times watching it all unfold. Didn't really see anyone get too close to zero, actually, if you're wondering about that. I saw a few guys get to like 5 or 4 seconds, but everyone was very reticent of the time. And I think it was about a 2-hour 45-minute 9-inning game. So,
one more question about the baseball game you went to see before we end with food. Yeah. Did you hear any trash cans being hit?
The guys behind me were listening very closely. They got off so many trash can jokes, I couldn't even fit one in. That's how much fun these guys are behind me were having. I didn't hear anything. I was listening. Like I said last week, I was listening for the trash cans. Didn't see anything from the Astros. For anyone out there who's the vigilante police, Astros looking clean to start. I don't know. We'll see what happens when April comes around.
We will indeed. But for now, let's #AlwaysEndWithFood.
Yes, our food segment to end every Course of Life podcast episode. Like we mentioned, it's the fitness episode. So we'll just talk a little bit about our health and fitness just in general, because it's an interesting time of the year right now, especially since as I record this, I'm coming off like the first binge food, eat, do whatever I want vacation of the year. You know, I started the year with the January diet that rolled into February. Then you have that binge moment. But it's the question right now, Mike, of when you come back from the first vacation and life settles in and the year has settled in, it's how do you go about making those better choices? Fortunately, I have someone by my side, my wife, that's going to help me make those choices and get the steps in and eat the correct meals. But I think the best thing that you can do is consult content and, things like what we're doing in these interviews, and look for content for people that inspire you and show you how to eat correctly and how to keep things in line, because it's very tempting for a lot of people out there to say, you know what, I crushed the beginning of the year diet. It's March. Let me live the rest of my life. But in reality, you can keep some of those things you did in the beginning of the year going throughout the rest of the year. So that's kind of my like self-motivational rant as I look on the outset of my first vacation and try and keep things on the thin and narrow.
Yeah, and I mean, I can give you the flip side of what happens maybe if you're not on a diet, or you're on a diet and you're off a diet, or you're just not as focused as you think. And that is, you can have what happened, like what has happened to me, where I had some blood work done. I went to a doctor and we did some blood work and found out that I'm pre-diabetic. So you could have that, which simply means pre-diabetes is still a serious thing to have, and it is a big wake-up call to your diet and your lifestyle. But I have elevated blood sugar and I have elevated ADL.
Yeah.
And if I were to do nothing, I'm going to get diabetes within 10 years.
That's such a daunting timeline when you say it like that. Golly.
But I have the opportunity, because I now know, to make changes to my diet and lifestyle and to prevent it, to have a good opportunity to make sure I don't get diabetes. Because once you have diabetes, you have diabetes. It's not.
You can't just shake it off like the cold or the flu. You know?
No, no. So, this is a nice wake up call for me to actually make sure I'm doing the right things, and something that I'll share on my journey. And I've been trying to, make better decisions, eat out less sweets in the house, less carbs, and just try to more salads, more veggies, all that fun stuff that you think about. And then the next step for me is to try to find a way to get more active, because I already am active at work. I'm on my feet all day. I'm making bread.
Definitely.
But it is now, next step is to find a way to really increase that kind of physical activity outside of the job. So, and we'll talk about it here. We'll keep me accountable, Alex. That's what your job is going to be.
No, I like that. I appreciate that. Obviously, we're gonna bring some light from the dark diagnosis, and obviously get you on the right and narrow. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things to explore. Fortunately, there's not a lack of plethora of food and dietary supplements out there to help you get on the right and narrow. There are options for you. You can do better for yourself, and it starts one day at a time. But yeah, it starts with some steps and some changes to your diet. So we'll be there for you. And we'll be definitely dialoguing it as well too, because I know people want to hear about your journey. And this is not just for the pre-diabetic crowd. This is for the crowd that just wants to maybe change one or two things in their diet to make themselves feel a little better at night or in the morning when they wake up. It's as simple as that in life too, to have us all living a better life. So we're all here doing that for you. This is the course of life, and you're on your course of life with us as well. Thanks again for tuning to this episode, and we'll see you next week.